Today I ask how much of yourself, or of myself, or of ourselves, that we would leave behind in order to justify whatever it is that keeps us busy, that keeps us active, that fills up our daily routine. Asking how much do we sacrifice of our true potential, or the things that we really want out of life, or the things that we'd like to be doing, in order for fill in the blank. And, from one perspective, let's just say, from the truther perspective, that, I'm going to dedicate all my time and all my energy and all my life to researching and then relaying that information to other people, when that question needs to be asked as sort of an assessment during those times when you're, feeling so belligerently dedicated to a path. It's a good time to question that path. It's a good time to question things, especially when you're feeling very kind of intoxicated, or trying to think of the right word there, something's really driving you. Now that's good. It's good to have passion, but it's also good to control your delusions about something that may seem to even have synchronistic patterns calling you to it. I've seen a lot of people, leave ruin and wreckage behind them in life, running away seemingly from their problems, but they think they're on a very dedicated, a very glorious and great work type path. And it's good to question all aspects and have balance in life, and not be too overly imbalanced to one direction, whether work or exercise even. There's such a thing as too much exercise. I am not guilty of that one. But, just becoming overly imbalanced in one direction or the other. And then justifying maybe overworking or not really getting to the things that you'd really like to because, I'm so dedicated to this, or not even bringing up this question, like I said, and just being so intoxicated with a path that you're on that it's never really even a question of are there other things that I need to explore to really broaden my potential, to expand my potential and discover it? Are there other aspects that I need to develop besides this one thing that, yeah, it's a big thing, it needs to be done in the world, and I think a lot of people get that superhero mentality. And that's a lot of what the movement traps was all about, is ways around it. And for those who don't know what the movement traps is, I did a series called Falling into the Movement Traps, where it was basically asking these questions, It can seem justified, it can seem, like you are supposed to be out there, and I'm using the truther example here and giving light to that as being part of a possible movement trap. And, dedicating yourself to this cause. It's almost like a collectivist mindset, really. And the individual has to be careful not to fall into traps of causes for the masses. And this is a painful lesson to learn, that along the way, as you discover certain things about how our reality, how this, the conditions of this place work at the moment while we're here, what we can experience, you can discover that there's a lot of unnecessary suffering and even self-inflicted suffering and self-loathing that goes on and causes a lot of unnecessary suffering for others. And it could be a fall of consciousness or somewhat immorality that we're approaching, so where we're becoming more immoral, more debased, more dysfunctional as a society, even with all our technological gain and technological gadgets and study of the mind. It seems like what we find is that humanity is stuck in some kind of traumatic post-traumatic stress, or a break from consciousness, a break from the universe, or God, you could say. And in this sort of spiritual fall, you're sort of sucked in and you're brought into the soup as it is. And you're in that, regardless of you being aware of it or not. We're all still in the same soup on some level. And to try to think that you'll dedicate your life to changing that could be a very frustrating journey that ends up landing you in a place where your expectations are so high that things will change in a way that you expect them to, that if that doesn't happen, it could be very ruinous and very destructive to that particular person who had that expectation. And so, again, going back to nurturing yourself, looks like I have some notifications going on my phone here, and exploring other aspects that don't have to do with changing other people's minds, let's say. And this could be said, even for like the far left or the far right. You could split it on the political spectrum instead of talking about truthers, right? This expectation that your side is right, or that your side should be in power and be able to change these things in these ways. We saw what happened after Trump got elected in 2016, how that went. There's like a meltdown, psychological, chaos happening on a mass level from people whose expectations were that that wouldn't happen and that Trump wouldn't get in office, and there was no way that would occur. And, I think there are people that manipulate these aspects, that know a lot more about our minds than we do. And with that knowledge, they use it to wield power and control, or to have a certain outcome, to manipulate, to learn more about the technocratic control grid. And so, coming up in the Creature of Control series, I talked a lot on my last walk and talk about how I wanted to do some work on mind control. And I've since revised that a little bit and decided to relaunch an old podcast called The Creature of Control. And it has several series within it. I've already gone through like an introduction you can find on the website. On the main page, you'll see The Creature of Control. And there are 4 episodes there that I did as audio episodes and then re-uploaded them to YouTube. And now they're on Library. And I'm working on a lot of the back-end stuff for TylerBloyer.com to be ready to release a new series, which will have more syndication and be more of a proper podcast. And it doesn't mean it's going to be like always frequent, but when I do the series, I'm going to try to get them out in weekly. Sometimes there'll be a break, but like weekly productions and then a break, and then come back to the series. So I feel like it's important information, and I may have a different pace than other people. And so this question again today of how much of myself am I letting go for my dedication to helping other people maybe become more aware of some of the things that I've become aware of. Oh, I feel like it'd be selfish and wrong not to do that, being that so many others have shared information in interesting ways that have really helped me, my growth. But there is a balance. I also have, a beautiful and loving family. I provide for that family and spend a lot of my time making sure that they have what they need and that they're going to get what they need. And it's a very young family, so there's a lot more time to go in being there to help support my children and my wife and make sure that they, again, have the environment that they need to thrive. And so if I was just dedicated to one thing all the time, there'd be other people around me who depend on me who'd possibly not be getting their needs met. And so that's one example, but you could also say maybe something like the guitar, which I've somewhat learned to play in a self-taught fashion, but probably should spend more time developing, because maybe there could be a creative musical side to me that I want to explore more, to be more creative and be more fulfilled. Well, if I just leave the guitar sitting there and never touch it, never pick it up, I'm neglecting certain aspects of myself that, I don't want to sit and get completely involved in that and 100% just into the guitar. Now, if I did do that, perhaps I'd be a very great guitar player and make great music, and then I could meet the needs of my family because we'd make money off the albums and things. So I'm not saying don't explore your creative side fully and get immersed in it. I mean, you should become immersed in things when you're learning them and practicing and developing that skill and then producing that talent for other people to share. Sure, like that's going to take a lot of dedication, but it's just a question, an important question of, are there other aspects of yourself that you're neglecting? Are there parts of your body that need attention that are being neglected? Are you aware of these things? Are you at least aware, that you're not, in contact with a certain people, relationships that you should be nurturing that? Or, again, sacrificing yourself and your time and your interests for the collective in order to wake up the collective is almost like the same as the saying as good for what's good for the many is good for the one. Like what's good for the group is good for the individual. Almost like saying that the group's importance comes above the individuals. And I'm not saying that someone should be like such a radical individualist that they really just like trounce upon other people's rights, or take away other people's opportunity to thrive because of your individualism, that it just like ends up becoming a negation of other people's individualism. So we're not talking about that, but I got into the weeds here, man. Mosley, where'd you take us? So, and then again, like, is your dedication off-putting to other people on this subject? And are you attempting to shift mountains that can't be shifted? And then by doing that, I'm putting all this effort into this situation, this scenario here, but going back to neglecting the other things in life because of this need to change the collective. Now, it does need to be changed, but is the way to go about it losing yourself in that maneuver? It's an important thing to think about. Your own happiness even, or your own peace of mind being compromised in the battle that we're in. How far do you make it through it? Can you sustain that level of neglect to the other things in life? And it's almost like they, understanding this, have to keep ramping up the circus and the novelty and the craziness of it all to keep our attention, to keep us in that matrix there that is well controlled and well, surveyed and manipulated and well understood how that field of consciousness works. The one where you are in the mass mind. So, as we get into the Creature of Control series, we'll go back to studying the creature. Who is the creature? What is the creature? How does that all work? And you can just find out more at tylerbloyer.com. Hit the subscribe button on the pop-up, or just go to the subscribe section, tylerbloyer.com/subscribe. And we'll have some exciting announcements coming out soon. Other than that, good old classic tylerbloyer.com walk and talk in the bag. Go clean this up and get it out. Other than that, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.